I think often people can misinterpret Buddhism as kind of skating over emotions. The Buddha is seen meditating very calmly under a tree, but emotional engagement, engaging our emotional energies, is extremely important. Okay, a warm welcome to all of you tuning in tonight, or tuning in on this recording of our Dharma Night for Brixton Triratna. My name is Amra Pushpa, and Happy New Year to you all. And with the new year, we're starting a new theme called Metta to Insight. And somebody said that talking about metta in this time of year, this cold, we're here on a cold January night in Ephra space, is like a winter warmer. So I'm here tonight with my friend Viranaga and also Elena, our wonderful camera woman, but we're in this big space in London during lockdown, and we're bringing this warmth of metta, starting to turn our minds to metta with the new year. And so many of you may have come across metta practice in terms of a form of meditation. So we often teach the metta bhavana as a way in, as one of the techniques to develop metta. But the Buddha's teaching covered a whole spectrum around metta, and that's why we're calling this series From Metta to Insight. So we're going to be exploring a very concise teaching of the Buddha in only 10 verses, but it covers this whole spectrum from looking at the conditions in our daily life to looking at how we behave, all the way up to insight and enlightenment, all in this very short teaching that has just loads of riches to unpack and explore. And it seems like a very fitting follow-on to the theme we were exploring before the end of the year, which was the Buddha's prescription for the fact of human suffering, known as the Noble Eightfold Path. And part of that path, the Buddha asked us to reflect on and practice in many different dimensions of our life, from speech to action to the way we bring mindfulness and effort to things. And one big area of this Eightfold Path, kind of a linchpin, was called perfect emotion, and perfect meaning whole or complete. And the Metta Bhavana is kind of what the Buddha taught on that, is like a natural extension of looking at the conditions in our life that conduce to us taking the energy that's wrapped up in negative mental states and transforming it into this expansive, warm, open emotion. And just say briefly, metta is often translated as loving kindness, but it also has a quality of warmth, friendliness, goodwill. And as I said, the teaching goes from our everyday experience, perhaps ordinary friendliness, day-to-day life, or bringing more harmony into our relationships with people in our immediate environment, to building it up to this radiant, expansive state that transcends the boundaries we build up between each other, and also, so which takes us into a much more insightful state, into more of an awakened state that's more in line with reality, the way it really is. So there's a quality of being in connection with reality when we're in tune with metta. It's the appropriate response when we have the wisdom to see the way things really are. So this is where this discourse takes us. And it's called in Pali Karaniya Metta Sutta. And the words Karaniya literally means let them do. It's, so the Buddha's not laying down rules or commandments. It's a type of invitation. It's a type of respect for us to assess what we think is good for us, and inviting us to find, to really reflect on what feels good and true for us. The Buddha always asked us to explore his teachings in our own experience. And the first sentence of this short teaching, which we're going to more explore tonight, is, he says, let him, those who are skilled in their good, so those who know what's really good for them. So it brings in a type of intelligence and skill to really know what's good for us, and who wish to attain nirvana or perfect peace or enlightenment should act this way. So this is just what we're exploring tonight, but he then goes into conditions to lay out in one's life that we're going to explore next week. But it's this kind of invitation, and there's also getting back to metta as emotion or perfect emotion. I think often people can misinterpret Buddhism as kind of skating over emotions. The Buddha is seen meditating very calmly under a tree, but emotional engagement, engaging our emotional energies, is extremely important in the Buddha's teaching. It's what gives us the fuel to transform and to move towards more liberated, freer states, to help us realize our full potential. So that emotional engagement is very important. But we also need to bring our reason and our intelligence. So again, coming back to knowing what's good for us and bringing that together with metta. And this, I love this discourse, because I think it takes us on this whole journey into all sorts of aspects of our human experience. And before I turn to Viryanaga, and we'll have a bit of discussion just about this sense of the Buddha's invitation and knowing what's good for us. I think I'll read these 10 verses, and just with the understanding that we're going to explore these more in depth next few weeks. So it starts out, those who are skilled in their good, who wish to attain that state of calm or perfect peace, should act like this. They should be upright, perfectly upright, of noble speech, gentle and humble, contented, easily supported with few duties, of light livelihood, with senses calmed, discreet, not impudent, and not greedily attached to families. They should not pursue the slightest thing for which otherwise people might censure them. And they should practice like this, thinking, may all beings be secure, may their hearts be free and wholesome. Whatever living beings there be, feeble, strong, tall, stout, or medium, short, small, or large, without exception, seen or unseen, those dwelling far or near, those who are born or those who are to be born, may all beings be happy in their heart of hearts. Let none deceive another, nor despise any person whatsoever in any place. Let them not wish harm to another out of anger or ill will. Just as a mother would protect her only child at the risk of her own life, even so, let them cultivate a boundless heart towards all beings. Let their thought of boundless love pervade the whole world, above, below, and across, without any obstruction, without any hatred, without any enmity. Whether they stand, walk, sit, or lie down, as long as they are awake, they should develop this mindfulness. They say this is the noblest living here, like having heaven right here on this earth. Not falling into wrong views, being virtuous and endowed with insight by discarding attachment to sense desires. Never again are they reborn and gain complete liberation.
So thank you, Pushpa. Yeah, really nice to hear the introduction to this new series of Metta to Insight. So I liked how you described Metta as a winter warmer. I think we definitely need it. I just wondered if we could start with, a question I have is just like, if for those of us who don't know what Metta is, in a way, how would you describe it?
Yes, thank you, Viryanaga. I realize, sometimes we can get used to using a term and we think everybody knows it, and it's quite a funny term, Metta. So it is often defined as loving kindness and, warmth, so emotional warmth, friendliness, goodwill. It's a kind of intentional action to open our hearts, turn towards what's most positive in our experience and wish it towards someone else. And you could say, why don't we just call it love? Why use this word metta? And but metta is pointed to a kind of spiritual quality that love is in English language is a bit inadequate because it's kind of a umbrella term for so many things, such as I love chocolate, I love going to Spain, and also there's this whole spectrum of love that could be more about possessiveness rather than this more spiritual love, which is really wanting what is the best for someone, wishing them well.
There's sort of something of an intentional nature, isn't there?
Yes.
Like, whereas, I don't know, like if I feel affection for somebody or something, it sort of just happens, whereas Metta for me, well, I think you mentioned it already, but Metta for me has got that intentional element. I want to wish them well, I want them to be well, I want to help them be well.
That's right, right. And this little teaching, the word mindfulness is, so practice this mindfulness. So it is this bringing awareness to our emotional states, how we're responding to others, and then using that intention to not to override, perhaps if we have some enmity or aversion to someone, we don't want to suppress that, but we want to, I guess bring kindness to ourselves, because that's a suffering state. And this teaching, all the Buddhist teaching, is to how do we free ourselves from suffering of the human condition, and feeling negatively towards someone, to feeling enmity, is we think we're punishing someone else or getting even with someone else, but we're actually punishing ourselves, we're actually suffering ourselves. And there's that image the Buddha uses of holding a burning coal, and we think we're retaliating, but at the same time we're burning our hands. So,
and the opposite is also true, isn't it? If we can, in a certain way, wish metta on our enemies, in the traditional language, actually that's not sort of letting them off the hook, is it? It's kind of entreating them to spiritually grow, spiritually develop. You're not kind of, you're not saying that whatever they've done is okay if they have
No,
indeed done something
no.
wrong, something that's been
No.
unskillful, that you are kind of lifting both yourself and them
That's right.
to hopefully a more skillful level of behaviour.
And it doesn't mean you have to like them
Mm.
in that ordinary, everyday sense. So, you know, even though we started this ordinary, everyday level of friendliness and kindness, you know, it has a spiritual quality of seeing the bigger picture of what we as humans all have in common, and getting beyond that small area of likes and dislikes of each other's characters. And just because we share humanity, there's a certain solidarity, that's enough to wish someone well.
I very much like this way of getting into metta, because I think anyone who's practiced the metta bhavana, I hear quite a few people struggle with it or kind of give up the practice in a way for something like the mindfulness of breathing, which is just a bit more experiential in a way.
Yeah.
But this sort of rational way into metta, you can use sort of reflection, can't you? And to find your way into metta, it's not just about a kind of warm feeling or anything.
Yes.
There is a sort of active, intentional, reflective element, which I find a bit easier personally to get into. I know different people are different, but I find it very helpful to think of that.
Yes, I mean, often people think they should have a certain feeling, and I used to try to force grow something, and I think it really helped me. Do as you say, see it as a practice of reflection and intention, and have trust, have faith that the more we turn our minds to it, the more something starts shifting and opening up. We don't really have to worry so much about it, as long as we, the fact that we sit down or, study this, the Buddhist teaching around it. It's going to have an effect without, almost like magic. It's quite fascinating.
That's the really interesting thing about metta, isn't it? And I think the series title of Metta to Insight is very interesting, because it, for me, the metta practice, although it's quite simple on the surface, it's one of the most transformative, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Like, all you have to do is bring to mind somebody for a few days in your meditation practice, and next time you encounter them or speak to them, something has shifted.
Yes.
It can be really radical.
That's
actually.
right. Even though it might feel difficult in the meditation, I remember doing that with someone I worked with. I wasn't alone in finding this person quite difficult, and it really wasn't a very satisfactory experience necessarily, putting her, in my meditation or bearing her in mind during the day. But then, like magic, we made a connection, we became friends, we started meeting up, and I realized it wasn't so much her as the way I responded to her. And I wasn't intentionally trying to change how I responded to her. It's just by doing this practice, something mysterious shifted in me. And that's the magic of it.
It makes such a difference, doesn't it? We filter everything through our minds, and even a small change in our mental states can have a big change in our experience.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. It is a practice of transformation, and the Buddha talked about these different levels to shift our energy to become more happy in ourselves and benefit others. And meditation is one way we do that. So we practice metta and meditation. But as you said, we also the Buddha talks about hearing a teaching, reflecting on it, and then bringing it into your daily life. So, how we go about our day is very important too. And that's fed by the meditation, but also how we act in daily life will affect the meditation practice.
Great, yeah. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the next
me too.
5 weeks. I think
too.
it'll be really nice to unpack the relevance of metta in our day-to-day lives.
Me too. And one thing I neglected to mention is that in exploring it, we're going to be looking at the teachings of Sangharakshita, our teacher and founder, as he he wrote in this wonderful book called Living with Kindness, and I've over the years I just come back to this book again and again. I just find it deeply insightful and inspiring, and I love the elephants on the cover, the baby elephants and the mother. Yeah. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So thank you very much for joining us in this first of our new Dharma Night series. I just wanted to bring to your attention a few events that we have going on in January to also help us all start our year in a good direction. We have a retreat coming up with the Brixton Triratna community. It's an online retreat, and it's called Exploring Our Depths, and that's coming up on the 15th of January, and you can book for that online. I very much hope to see you there. Both Viryanag and I will be on it. And also coming up is an 8-week course starting on the 19th of January called Life with Full Attention. And this is a very rich exploration of how to bring more awareness, mindfulness, and positivity to how we live our lives and to make our lives much more satisfactory and fulfilling, beneficial to ourselves and others. And I'll be co-leading that course with Amlodana, so very much hope to maybe see you on the course. And again, you can book that online.